All right, Steve. We're back.
You know,
Husky
I was told allegedly that you were going to be. I was going to get intros for all my shows, special intros. Is that still happening or?
For your shows?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you said you were going to make special intros for all my shows.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
It's
not you can. You said you were. You were going to do
I haven't had time.
Okay. I just
you have me on 5,000 appearing on 5,000 shows for free.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know. We're working on it.
I'm appearing every second on the show. I don't even have time to breathe.
I know. This is Husky Huddle. Welcome to Husky Huddle. And we have obviously my co-host and cohort from New Jersey, very pleasant. And he's coaching for his job in the playoffs with 9-year-olds this weekend.
9-year-old football. Let's go.
That's Mr. Coach David Schuman. Coach, great to see you again in the last 12 hours.
Nice. Yep. Nothing better than that.
And a very special guest, Mr. James Hargrave the third. James Hargrave the third. He played in the NFL for several years. He was at the Detroit Lions. And Dave, I want you to know for the record, I got him on the show. I want the credit for getting him on the show.
I'll tell you what's funny, James. I almost, because the name Hargrave, first of all, my linebacker coach was Vernon Hargrave.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was my linebacker coach at college, Vernon Hargrave. Spelled obviously differently, but Vernon Hargraves. And when I was an NFL agent, one of the guys I pursued, who's in the NFL now as a defensive lineman, is Javon Hargrave.
Okay. Right.
Exactly. So when I first put it all in, like I was putting it in and like I wasn't really paying attention. And I had put in Javon Hargrave without even like thinking, because it was just like, I don't know. It was just I changed it, but initially I was like, I'm like, no, that's not. That's the guy that is currently in the NFL playing defense. Right. So the name Hargrave, whether you spell it the way that you spell it or the way that Vernon Hargrave spell it, obviously his son played in the NFL too, is a great football name.
Synonymous, yes.
Synonymous.
Yeah.
Very, very, very talented. Very talented.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the name is funny because when we first heard of the D tackle Javon Hargrave playing, everybody kept asking me, "Are you related to him?" I'm like, I'm not even sure. Everybody kept, "Are you related to him?" And I'm like, I'm not sure. But I don't know. I think he's from the South, which I have.
Yeah, he is. I think so.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So I'm not 100% sure. Right. You have to go down the bloodline and the family to see, but could be. I'm not sure.
Because Hargrave is not that. Like, it's not like a wildly popular last name. You know what I mean? It's
common, right? So
that's why to see so many guys that are in pro football and college football with a similar name, that's what I think makes it unique. Because when Vernon Hargraves was my linebacker coach at Yukon, I had never heard that name ever. Last name. So I figured it's not common like Smith. You know what I mean? Or something like that.
Right. But I think also too their name, I think, ends with an S. Mine
it does.
See, that's where it's different, right? There's a Hargraves, mine's Hargrave. So
that's right.
Yeah.
100%. It's just like my name's Schuman, and Steve can attest to this. When my kid gets called out in the pregame announcements, he's been Schuman, he's been Schulman, he's been Suhuman, he's been 5,000 different names. Every name other than actually what his name is.
Let me ask you a question. Does that bother you?
Not much bothers Dave. Not much.
No, you know what? I guess because growing up, there was, believe it or not, in my elementary school, my last name was Schuman, and there was a kid named Schumacher in my school, right?
Schumacher. Wow.
Yes, there was actually a kid named Schumacher in my school, and there was no one else in the whole entire town with that those naming convention. But there were
Right.
2 people in the same grade in the same school with that. So it was like I had, by the time I got into high school, it was said wrong so many times that I was already like, like it didn't even really like I more like laughed at it. You know what I mean? Like, I figured my performances athletically would be standing out, that they had to keep saying that name over and over and over again and struggling with it. I just thought I started to think it was just great. I'm like, they have to say this name all the time. And they're like, what is this name? It's not like, it's not a common name that you would normally have to say.
So, James, I know that you played for the Lions. How many years did you end up playing for the Lions?
I was only there. So what happened was they picked me up. I was there in like the beginning of the season a little bit, and then they end up. I ended up going to NFL Europe. Like allocated.
Oh, right. You played. I know you played in NFL Europe.
I played with Hamburg Sea Devils. We actually won the championship. Actually, that was the last year.
Yes, you did.
Won the championship over there, which was amazing. Came back, and then I was with the Lions for a little bit. And then not to get too deep into it, but the business aspect kind of got to me, right? Not to me personally, but that's what took me out of the league, right? It was, and then I had some really good coaches. And then it just came down to a point where even one of the coaches, I still remember to this day, he was just like, listen, like, this is the business aspect. Not that and the guy ahead of me, I don't want to throw shade, but
no, but that's how it is, man.
Yeah, he wasn't better than me, and I proved it on film. I knew all the playbook. I had it down pat because we ran the same defense in Germany, right? So it was just like when I went to camp, I was on it. And then my linebacker coach came to me, and he was just like, listen, like, this is a business aspect. He said it's nothing personal. It's just, and it kind of was just like, I kind of ended up finding out, from a little bird that it was like one of the coaches, they were kind of like, close. And he was like, right? But, it's part of the business. It is what it is. And then, I ended up coming over here to the Canadian League, playing in the CFL. Played with the Tiger Cats and, did a little bit there. And then I've been up here ever since, man. My wife,
good.
Kids, and now I'm a strength and conditioning coach, and I do a lot of like group training. I'm actually in the middle of like running hockey programs right now, believe it or not. All right. Yeah. I got a few hockey.
Do you skate?
No, actually, I don't skate like that, but I do all the dry land stuff. Right. So I'm their coach. After they get off the ice, they come to me, and I'm training all the teams, anywhere between 14 to 18 kids. In the middle, get a baseball team. I got a basketball team coming, so this is growing for me, man. So is
it your own business, your own entity?
So I'm under a gym right now. My goal is to get my own gym. It's just, to be honest, it's tough, right? Because now before it was more of me just trying to look for a small business, but now that it seems like the way this is going, it's going to be more teams for me. I have to find a space big enough where I can fit 20 kids. Yeah. Right. And that's not cheap.
No.
I don't know if you know about the Toronto area. It's expensive up here.
Toronto's very expensive. Yeah. No, Dave knows because Dave ran one-day camps, and Dave also trained players as well. So he's right in your ballpark.
Do you know Jordan Younger?
JY. Yeah.
Do you know him?
No, I do not.
Because he played for the Argos.
Yeah, and then put him in touch with him.
I don't know if he still does.
Yeah, he coaches. He's a DC.
He's in Toronto, isn't he? He
is.
So Jordan played at Yukon. I guess he was probably a senior.
I played with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. And then because he was
JY.
I always thought they should have played him right away as a true freshman. They redshirted him. I was mad about that because my senior year we could have used him, but he was redshirted that year. But he ran for a long time, and I know the woman who funded their program. He ran. I don't know if he still does, but for a long time he was running a whole football training program
Wow.
and like they had all these leagues and stuff, and right in Toronto. I'll get Steve. I'll go look it up when we get off here.
Yeah, I have
But,
JY's contact
but yeah,
info,
he
too.
definitely, because he had built the name from when he was playing, and then
He
there
played. God.
there was a woman that invested. I mean, this is a long story, but a woman who's very, very successful woman, like really, really successful.
Right.
And I think she was a part owner in the Argos.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she I guess got to know JY. Her son played in one of my All-American games, so that's how I got to know her.
Oh,
And
okay.
she ended up funding one of the like this whole big football thing that Jordan was doing with another guy. Can't remember the guy he was doing it with. It may have been a Yukon grad too, but I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, he had a whole big thing in there, like training wise and football. And yeah, I'll go look up. I don't know. This was a handful of years back when they were doing it. I don't know if that's still a thing or not, but he was like well networked. JY was well networked in Toronto.
Wow.
From the sports standpoint. Real you should, if he's still there, which I think
he is. I have his contact
at least
info.
you should connect. Yeah, you should at least connect.
I will. I will pass it on.
Steve, because that would be
that would be good for James.
Yeah, JY is a great guy too. Great guy.
Cool.
Yeah,
cool.
he is.
Appreciate
yeah,
it.
he God, he had like a 10-year career up there. He played forever. He did very well up there. Yeah, we'll definitely put him in contact. So I understand. So you're trying to find a building where you would be able to train all the different types of sports that you're working with.
Right. Because it's the last 8 years I was working at a rehabilitation center. So I was working hand in hand with, doctors, chiros, physios.
Yeah.
Right. So not only do I train, but I can rehab. I learned how to rehab.
Oh, you can do PT.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I could do all that. So like, what they would do is the way the business worked where I was, working, somebody would come and say they had a bad knee. They would go see their doctor, the physio, whoever, chiro. They would do their treatment, and then they would come to me and I would do all the strengthening exercises. Right. So it's not just about you coming to see, Coach James and he's just getting you stronger. If you got a messed up shoulder, messed up knee, I can rehab that to where we try to get you back on the field or whatever sport you playing. Right. So I'm like, now I'm so diverse. I've trained hockey, basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, swimmers, volleyball. I've trained pretty much every sport. Right. So it's been coming up here. I've definitely learned a lot, and I guess this was just my path.
Did you major in kinesiology or?
So that's what I started with. Believe it or not, this is kind of funny.
Jerry Martin,
Coach Martin, right? The kinesiology program. The only thing I had to cut it short and change my majors because we had classes on Saturday. They had labs on Saturday.
I know.
Either I played football or I had to change.
Yeah, man, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah, I'm on scholarship. So yeah. But it ended up working out. I'm still doing,
Yeah, you don't need it.
So,
I mean, you either know how to train people or you don't.
Right. So it's all good. I'm blessed.
And with all your experience with it. So you were in NFL Europe in 2004, right?
No, that was
2003?
I graduated from Yukon.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2005, 2006.
So it was in 2007 I went.
So I was there when you were there. I was with the Rhine Fire in 2007.
Yeah.
You were in Hamburg. Okay.
Yeah. So because what was the real?
Because Mulcahy was there with me. Sean Mulcahy was there with me. Mm-hmm. I can't remember. Was Jack Bicknell your head coach? I can't remember who your head coach was.
Was it Jack? I can't remember. Man, it's been so long.
It's been a while. I can't remember who the head coach of Hamburg was.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
Oh my God! At the time of my life,
it was amazing. I tell everybody that.
I tell everyone because they didn't have American football, so. I mean, we were treated like NFL players 100%, over there.
100%.
and the attention that we got, the autographs that we signed, the appearances that we made. The only good thing, I mean, the best thing about Cologne was we did not have to bus to practice back and forth. The coach allowed us to take the train, so we could leave whenever we wanted. And then after practice, we could hop on the train and go into the city and do whatever we wanted to do. So I thought that part was cool. And that's crazy. So you ran the same defense in Hamburg that you did with the Lions.
Yeah, we ran the same exact defense. Everything, it was
because there were limitations on like you couldn't zone blitz. Like I know you had to show your blitzes, and I don't even know if you could play. You were limited with playing the odd front, or you had to play it a certain way. There were different things that they had, but that's really cool.
Yeah, there were certain rules, but it was very, very similar to what we ran in Detroit.
Right.
The biggest thing for me was just, I think, the gap responsibility was so different than in college, right? Because in the NFL, like in the line, in the NFL, everybody's up here, right?
Yeah.
College, you get away with being maybe a second late, right? And still make the play.
Yeah.
NFL, you were late. That's it.
Yeah. It's very true.
It was learning the gaps, filling the gaps, and just, for me, I had to actually, I ended up I had to gain like 20 pounds because I went in like 25.
Where did they play you at Sam or Mike?
I played Will.
Oh, they had you at Will. Okay.
Will linebacker. Yeah.
And you still had to put on that much weight.
I personally, I went in like 225, 230 at Will.
I thought that would have been fine.
For me personally, I noticed if I would take on a pulling guard, like I will hold my stance, and he still will push me. And you got to remember, the lead, that's all they need is a crack.
Yeah,
right?
to get through.
They hit that crack and they're gone.
Yeah.
So I ended up gaining. It's funny when I went, because we trained in Tampa before we flew out to Germany, and one of the
I love that.
One of the scouts came just to check on me and stuff like that, and he ended up pulling me to the side and asked me, James, are you doing anything? What are you doing different? I was like, well, what do you mean? And he was like, you look a lot bigger. I was like, oh. They ended up giving me a steroid chest. He thought I was on steroids. Yeah,
you got to be shitting me.
Yep. I ended up taking the test right before I left. Yep, because I was in the gym. See, when I say that was my dream, and it was right in front of me.
Yeah, I know. I was there. Right? Yeah,
I was in the gym every day. Right. Yeah. So I ended up going from like 225, 230 to
250.
Yep.
That's amazing. Yeah. Was it your own coach that noticed it? And
no, it was the scout. Right before we flew, we had a scrimmage.
Yes.
You remember we used to do the scrimmage, right? Against
every weekend. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So it was that last scrimmage. And that's when he came to me and he like pulled me aside and he was like, you're a lot bigger.
Yeah, like, what's going on?
Like, yeah, man. Like I've been in the gym, right? And he was like, okay. And then like, no lie, like 24 hours later,
they woke you up and they're like, here's your cup.
Here's your cup. Go take it. Take that test. Yeah. But it was all good, man.
Dave, did you ever send anyone to NFL Europe? Because you
NFL Europe was gone by the time I was an agent.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was because I became an agent, and it was 2000. I was an agent from 2000. I want to say, I think the first
8, 9.
2014. I think I started, but the first draft year was 2015.
Okay.
And then I think 2015 was the first draft year, and then I was done in 2021. I think was the last.
James and I played in the last season of NFL Europe.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. 2007 was the last year because it was Paul Tagliabue's baby. Paul Tagliabue, had a vision of really having overseas teams or having like a true overseas league. And Roger Goodell came in, and it was ridiculous. He thought that it was a waste of money. Now, each team, it cost them $1 million a year to fund NFL Europe. $30 million to the NFL is a drop in the bucket.
Sure, of course.
So I was furious that he closed it down because it did help develop players, because the
Right.
only way you get better is if you get reps. You
Right.
need those reps. And
Right.
if you're not getting them in practice, there's got to be a place to get them at. And that's why quarterback development was so big over there. And we saw, I mean, there's a lot of guys, a lot of success stories came from NFL Europe. And it was a shame to see it go. And now there is no developmental league.
Yeah.
And James, I think to your point, I think there's enough talent to support 40 NFL teams. I think they just don't get an opportunity.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Like the talent, the players I played with on my team when we won, unreal. You know, we had one of my boys, Justin. He was the starting corner from USC when they had Reggie Bush when he won on the national championship. A monster.
Yeah,
a monster, man. And it's just like, you know, I had
there's
a
just
boy.
not enough spots.
Right. That's the thing. So much talent, and it's just like you need to be on the roster. But you know how it is, that business come in, and
there's nowhere to go, and that's why
that was the hardest thing about it when I was an agent is moves would be made. Some of the things were you know, for the right reasons, some of them weren't, you know what I mean? So it's like the NFL, like sometimes they were paying a guy, like you know, guys would tell me like, hey, this guy's as good as this guy, but
if we're paying them more,
we're paying them more. Like,
all the times.
Yeah, that happens. I think that happens a lot.
It does.
Because you know what else too? You know, some of the really, really high top 1% of the 1% agents, they also have a lot of power too. So
they do.
Yeah, not power where they can make a team. Like they can't make a team draft a guy,
No.
you know, like way above. They might move a guy up, but they can't like a team. You know, someone's not going to
like
draft.
Drew Rosenhaus has power.
He could get a guy moved up, but someone's not going to like just say, okay, I'm going to draft him just because Drew Rosenhaus wants to be drafted higher.
Mm-hmm.
But they do have power with roster moves, because if I'm Drew Rosenhaus, and let's say I have 8 guys that play in the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And 2 of them are up for contracts, or 3 of them are up for contracts. And I have this guy that I want to make sure is on there. And another agent who might have some juice with getting guys in, but like doesn't have 8 guys on this team, okay, wants to get this one player on. Like the team's not gonna take that risk. You know what I'm saying? They're not gonna take that risk unless the player is obviously just so far above somebody, you know what I mean? So, but obviously, you know, in the NFL, like everything's close, right? It's like, if I'm better than this guy, it's like, oh, I'm a little bit better than this guy. And the coach has to recognize that. And the GM has to recognize that. But like, if they don't buy into that, even if I'm better than that guy, like they're going to cut you, you know, it's kind of, you're right. The business side of it has like a lot of those things that go on. And obviously from like Drew Rosenhaus's side, or any like super big time agent, there's a lot of guys, a mass amount of guys on teams like that guy's like, well, hey, if you want me to bring another guy on next time my top 10 pick wants to maybe go to a team, if you don't take care of me here, like, I'm gonna try and influence them to go over here instead. You know what I mean? Right. So that is the hard part of the business although college is like that now, of course, too. But
college is getting crazy, huh?
James, who was your agent? Who did you sign with coming out? He's rolling his eyes. So
good. So honestly, I can't remember the guy's name. He was Chris. Do you remember Chris Henry? What the receiver? Yeah, that played for
he was a great player.
Yeah, me and him had the same agent.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Were you happy with his representation or not really? And did he have a big class and not give you enough?
No, he didn't have a big class. I felt I think he depended too much on who was his buddies, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah.
Like instead of doing the work,
I got a
it
guy
was,
here. I got a guy there. He'll take
yeah.
care of
I
it.
think
Yeah.
that was, and I think because at that time, I hope I'm saying the right, Chris Henry, the receiver, right, for the Bengals. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think at
He
the
died,
time,
right? Like, did
yeah,
he die?
that's what.
Or,
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
tragic accident.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think because Chris was doing so well, I felt like he thought that Chris was going to take him over the top. So then when he got me too, it was like, because I actually was I went to the Bengals when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers in that playoff game when
Okay.
Palmer got hurt. I don't know if y'all remember that, and that's when Jerome Bettis fumbled the ball at like the 1 yard line or something like that. I was at that game. I met all the coaches, so we all had to sit down and stuff. But then again, it just went off the business aspect. They didn't need no linebackers at that time. We were trying to get me on the roster. This was all before before the draft and everything. Yeah, this was all
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I was down there. They flew me in. It was an experience. But then again, it was I think it was just too much of who I know instead of like doing the whole the whole work. Right. But again, like I said, I try not to dwell on it too much, right? Because it's hard, man. Because that was that's what we worked for, right? That's what we worked for to
We
get
all
that check.
did. Yeah.
Right. So it was good times. It was bad times, and for me, and like I try to tell people now, because especially now with me training on these kids, they always ask me like, "How was it?" I'm like, "It was
It's a job."
It's a job, and that's the thing. I had to realize it wasn't college. You know how college was. After a game, we go out, we all have fun, we go party and stuff like that. Man, my first year with Detroit, it was like, all right, guys, what we doing? Man, I got 6 kids. I got a wife. I'm going home. Right.
James, I 100% agree with you, and that is why, like, I was a diehard New York Giants fan, and that is why I stopped being a super fan for football, because like I would see after games, like I would be devastated if we lost a game.
Right.
And when I was in the NFL for any games or whatever for the pregame stuff or preseason, guys just or NFL Europe or whatever, guys were just like they didn't take losses hard. They're just like, I'm going to go see my family. I'm going to collect my check and go see my family. And then I was like, well, what the hell? Once I saw that, like, the players, it didn't seem like it meant as much to them.
Right.
Then I was like, well, what the hell am I losing sleep for it over it being a fan?
Right.
So that's why I was frustrated, and I have not been a super fan since then.
Yeah, it's tough.
But I completely understand. But yeah, the NIL stuff has changed everything. The transfer portal has changed everything. Yep. And we finally have started to adapt, which is good. And Coach Mora, I think, has done an outstanding job. With he's done more with less, and we're finally getting things going now with a collective. And I saw it up close. I was there for the Temple game. James, it was the first time I went to a game in probably 20 years. Wow. I think the last game I went to was the Meineke Car Care Bowl. I went to that game. Wow. But yeah, that was the first game I went to since then. And it was just so good to see the difference in talent that we have because of the NIL. And with we don't have the $30 million that Ohio State does or anything, but Mike Burton and Bleeding Blue for Good has done a nice job, raising some money. So, we have improved. Like, we've won the most games in September in the past over a decade. We're 4-2. We're 4-2 at this point. We haven't done this well, I think, since 2010. So it's good to see that it's making a difference. And I had Matt Newsy on yesterday. Matt Newsy, Dave, just so you know, Matt Newsy credits me for our success. He says starting Husky Talk is the reason we're having success. So I will take some credit for that as well.
For what success?
For the team having success. He thinks
team?
that Matt Newsy was a kicker for Yukon.
Oh, for Yukon, the team.
Yes,
I like that.
He said, you know what?
Like enthusiasm into the program. I would agree with that.
That's what he said. He said,
"New head coach, Murray's out. You're in, Cully."
He said, "You guys." He said, "You and Dave. You know, bringing on these shows and bringing the alumni back and covering the team has brought like a sense of pride and enthusiasm back that we haven't had in a while." And he really
think you've had a lot to do with it.
Well, you too. You too.
Interviews you've done, like, I mean, honestly, I piggybacked off of what you did, but what you did with the Husky Talk and the ground you've covered and number of interviews you've done with it, like, there's no doubt that at least the alum, with a minimum from the alumni standpoint, like, there's definitely a huge level of enthusiasm. And believe me, like, if you're a player, I mean, I don't know, this is how I was as a player, but like, I used to like it to see, you know, you're still a college kid, like, people are talking about your program, especially at Yukon. It's not like being at Alabama where, like, you know, people are talking about them 24/7 all over the place, right? Like, at Yukon, there's not that many people covering you. It's a small state.
Invested. Exactly.
So
exactly.
If you're a player and you see people are talking about the program, talking about what you guys are doing, like, what, you know, the success, man, I mean, no doubt that would light a fire under me. You know what I mean?
No, he did. He said, you and I, he thinks that we've done a great job, and he thinks that that's the reason they're winning. He gave us credit because we're giving coverage and bringing alumni back. Like, James, I don't know about you. Do you hear from anyone from Yukon? Does anyone from alumni reach out to you?
Coach Baylock.
He does. You get the newsletter.
He writes me a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, we do talk. I actually just talked to him last week.
Good.
So yeah, I do stay in contact. But just like you, I haven't been back to Yukon in a while. You know, just, and it's like I want to go back. I actually, you know, I want to take the family. You know, show them the experience, because it's like it's a little different up here in Canada, right? Football is not.
It
like
is.
the US, right? And, like, you know, they don't have the stadiums like, you know, the US has, right? So,
well, I love the Rogers Center.
Yeah. But
I understand.
Yeah, I just want to bring the family back, and I was hoping really to go, you know, next week, but I got it. It's hard. It's just hard for me to just.
Oh, well, with your schedule, I can imagine, with all the people you're working with.
Yeah.
I mean, so do you work with? So I know you work with groups. Mm-hmm. You work with teams. Mm-hmm. Do you also do one-on-one training as well? And is it purely sports training and physical therapy? Okay, so you do it all.
I do it all. My youngest is 7. My oldest is 72.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So my range is, you know, really wide. But,
wow. Holy crap.
Yeah. I'm just, you know, I'm doing a lot of Zoom stuff too, because I have people all over the world. Right. I got people back home.
Oh, okay, good.
It's not just, you know, in Canada. Right. I got a person, she's moving to Greece, so I'll be training her. Right. So it's going well.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I got to put you in touch with Warren Spivey. He was
Warren in a long time. Yeah, I remember Warren. A long time.
So Warren works for a company down in New York City who does something similar to what you do. It's called Midtown Biohack. Okay. And they also do sports training, and they're looking they're looking for partners, and they're looking to, you know, for partnerships. And I think if he had an opportunity to have a contact
Right.
in Canada, that would be something, they would be huge for him. They would love that. They just started this past year.
Okay.
And they've done very well. They have a lab that's in downtown Manhattan.
Nice.
And it works on preventative stuff, but it Warren looks amazing now. If you see the way Warren looks, he looks incredible.
That's
so
cool.
yeah, so he's done really well, and the company's done well, and that's something that you guys would be perfect to collaborate, and if there was a way to work together, because they do a lot of stuff over Zoom as well, and they'll go to different businesses will have them come in, and they'll work with them like that. So that could be a good contact.
Yeah,
but so David, we were talking about the Wake Forest Yukon game, and when we talked on Monday, Yukon, the winning percentage, they favored Yukon winning. It was 80% to 20%. And now that has changed dramatically. It's now 52% to 47%. So I don't know. I've been looking at news, just trying to figure out what changed since Monday that made this drop as much as it did. I'm just shocked by it. I'm shocked by it. But they're trying to pack the rent for the clash against Wake. That is the success of Yukon. They are pushing this weekend to pack the rent, because this attendance has gone up week to week. Especially when I was there, I think it was 28,000, which was one of the largest. Yeah, it was one of the largest they've had in a long time. So if they can get over 30,000 and get close, because James, when you played, that place was sold out. I mean,
sold out every game.
We sold out.
Yep.
We sold out. I think almost every game until 2010. We had one of the most a long sellout streak, because the team was consistently winning, going to bowls, and it obviously peaked in 2010, and then the wheels fell off. But I mean, it would be good to see that happen, and I think Yukon has an excellent chance against Wake. I've looked at Wake. I've looked at some of their schedule and some of their top players. I think we match up well with them. I think. I mean, we predicted. I think we should beat them handedly, but they have decent quarterback play. Hank Backmeyer, he's thrown for almost 1,500 yards, 62.9% completion percentage. 9 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but he has taken 14 freaking sacks, which I think is crazy. And the backup has also taken a couple sacks. He's 9 of 19. So he has not played as well. They only have, 9 touchdowns passing, and then rushing. They have a good rush. They have a good running game. Desmond Claiborne has 524 yards rushing on 99 carries, averaging 5.3 yards a carry. However, overall, Yukon is better. Yukon just has a running back by committee philosophy. The freshman the transfer Darrell Robinson has 421. Oh, he is a freshman. Okay, so they redshirted him. And this is his redshirt freshman year. He has 421 yards rushing. He's averaging a whopping 7.7 yards a carry, 4 touchdowns. Cam Edwards is my guy. I love Cam Edwards. He's had some injury issues. He has 320 yards rushing, averages 5 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns. And then you have Mel Brown, who has 315 yards rushing, averaging 5.1 yards a carry with a touchdown. And then the fourth leading rusher is the quarterback, Nick Evers, who's honestly, the poor guy, he's played sparingly. He has 172 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. But overall, Yukon has 1,322 yards rushing. Wake Forest has 846. So that's why I think Yukon has the advantage there, especially on offense. But Dave, what were your thoughts?
Oh, so I mean, I think UConn's run game has been phenomenal. The offensive line has dominated. I think
dominated. They're okay.
I think they've dominated at times. Absolutely,
their tackles. I like their tackles. Yes.
Yeah, the running back by committee has worked because when one guy has struggled or has been stopped, they've been able to use other guys. So far that's been good. Even though I think Cam is the best guy, but they've been able to utilize the other guys to be able to do what they need. I think the passing game, taking care of the ball, is going to be the key.
Yeah.
Because is it going to be Fagano, by the way, or is it?
See, that's what I can't. That's what I can't find.
No, have you been able to find that?
That's what's driving me up a wall. Yeah, I can't find any news on if Evers is playing. Now, one article I read said he's expected to play, but that's as close as I've gotten. So I don't know. I hope he is playing, but like we have no idea. We have no idea.
Yeah, so
he's got to be back after 2 weeks.
I mean that's I think a big thing. And then if Evers is playing, and maybe this is why they're not favored anymore in that aspect, is because maybe there's question marks.
Well, they are favored. It just went down.
Like, what is it? 1? What is it? Did you say again?
Yeah. They're still favored by. That hasn't changed. The spread.
They're still favored by 2 or 1.5. Depending on
1.5, 2. That didn't change. The win probability changed.
Oh, the win probability changed
from
so
50.
Maybe that has to do with the fact that Evers.
Vegas always knows.
Maybe it's because it's up in the air. So, but if Evers is playing, I mean, look, Evers hasn't been phenomenal passing. He's been solid, and he's been solid running. Fagano was great against some of the bad teams. Not that great last week against
Fagano.
Temple.
I wanted to punch against Temple. I
don't think Temple's very good, but
no, they're not. James, I'm sorry. I know you haven't seen a ton of Yukon, but this guy Joe Fagano, however you say his name, and Joe D'Ambrosia corrected me on how to say it properly. I watched this man miss 2 open touchdowns. He had 3 turnovers, and he's slow as whale shit. So whenever they run zone read and he pulls it, he either gets a loss or he'll get like 2 yards and it looks like he ran a mile, and it drives me up a wall. But yeah,
him running. I mean, running. It's painful to watch him run.
Well, and he has no touch.
He should be. Like, the question is Fagano having a hard time as the defensive players get faster? That's my thing. When you go levels like within Division I, like some of the teams don't have as fast DBs, so you have a little more open space to get delivered a ball. And as you get it against better and better teams, even though Temple's not, great, but they maybe have a little bit faster DBs.
The window closes. Yeah.
You get now. Obviously, an ACC team is going to have even faster DBs, right? So as you get up the level, is that a problem for Fagano? I don't know about Evers because obviously he's been out a lot. But for Fagano, is that an issue as the windows get a little bit smaller, completing passes in those? Because that's the difference between a really good quarterback and an okay quarterback, is that when the DBs are faster and the difference between the offensive player and defensive player is that close, and you got to complete it.
Separation. Yeah.
Yeah, can you get it into, or because if you're not accurate, that is the difference between literally a completion and an interception. That's how tight it is as the DBs get faster. When the DBs are slower, you have bigger winners. Just think about high school, right? Like a high school quarterback, could be slightly inaccurate and still be like passing 70% because if the guy gets open, the windows are bigger. But as you go higher up the ladder, that's what when in recruiting, that's why like when quarterback parents ask me like why my kid's been great in high school, why am I not getting recruited? It's hard to explain it to them, but like the college coaches know whether that pass is going to have a chance at a higher level. It doesn't mean you can't play at some level. It just means the highest level, that pass that's a completion might be an interception at the highest level.
James, I know that you have not had the opportunity to see Yukon as much, but from what you have read or know about the team, do you have any thoughts offensively on what they've been doing?
So it's funny because my cousin was actually the starting left guard for Temple.
Right? Oh, yeah, okay.
He actually sent me a video of him walking out the stadium, walking onto the field, right? And I wish he would have called me, but he wasn't. He has a messed up pec, so he wasn't supposed to play, but he ended up playing anyway. So I did talk to him a little bit, and from what some of the information he gave me and stuff, he felt like they had defensively they had a good like D line. And he from what I read, and believe it or not, I play like college football and stuff, the video game. I would play with Yukon, right? So I would look at like just look at the stats, try to compare the play and stuff and like that. But I think personally, as a team, with the offense, I think they need to limit the mistakes, try to establish the run. Right. Limit the mistakes, the turnovers, establish the run. As you said, on the game, I only use one running back, Cam. But like you said, if they got a group of running backs, I think, if you can pound the team down, make that third down, you don't want to go into the game 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, if you can get it to 3rd and 3 and lower, you got a huge chance. And that goes with just the game itself. If you can get, 1st and 2nd down, get nice gains into where you're, almost every, let's say
3rd and manageable.
It's 3rd and manageable. You got a great chance of winning. And, from what I'm, hearing from you guys and stuff like that, with the quarterback play not being where we need it, I think that takes a lot of pressure off the quarterback too, right? Because then he doesn't have to, sit in the pocket so long to make these big throws on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, right? And then, you give the chance, the defense a chance to rest and, take time off the clock, and that Wake Forest is I think I seen they're 2-4. Can't take this team lightly. You know how it is.
Not at all.
And if you have them down, you gotta put your foot on their throat, and keep them down, right? Don't let them make no big plays and control the game. I think UConn can do that. I think, like you said, I think another part comes in with just having people in the stands. You know how it is when there's people in the stands and the emotions and you feel like the music's going, like that helps. That really does help, right? Makes all the difference, right? So I think with the offense and just playing as a team, limit the mistakes. When throws are there, you got to complete them, right? If you have an open receiver, you got to hit them. There's whatever opportunities are limited, right? Yeah. And you got to make them. You got to make them count. So that's what I feel like. If they do that and they take care of the ball, and on defense they make big plays and big stops, I think they'll be fine.
And James, I told Dave that the Randy Edsall philosophy for winning, I still think it's relevant for today. It was run the football, don't turn the ball over, play tough defense, play the field position game, and score in the red zone. Yeah. That was his philosophy. Yeah. And time of possession. Yeah. And we don't necessarily do that. We operate quite a bit. We operate all out of the shotgun. We do a lot of 2-back sets and 3 wide receivers, or we'll do 11 personnel. We do have a pretty good tight end. The running game, I haven't been in love with because they run a lot of outside zone with 2 backs, with a lead back.
Okay.
And to do that, you're short backside. You either and you got to read the backside end. And the problem has been Figiano isn't a threat to run. So Temple had a really good game plan. Yeah. They played man coverage, and they said we're going to make Joe beat us.
Wow.
And anytime we ran outside zone, they flew to it. And it really kind of turned into a cut play. He'd have to stick a foot and go north. He didn't really get to the outside.
Right.
So I didn't like that as much. I'd like to see a little more inside zone. Even go out of the pistol. I'd like to see some gap schemes. I'd like to see them, run a little power. I think they have a tight end to do that. I've always liked, Dave, I don't know if you ran it, the inside zone divide where you have the tight end in your sniffer position and he comes across and whams the backside end.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I've always loved, that's been one of my favorite plays.
Creates a comeback.
We haven't done a lot of that. And Figiano, he's got good numbers. He's thrown for 1,000 yards. He's got 11 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And to the credit of the offensive line, they've only given up 4 sacks all year. But this could be the first game that everyone is healthy and playing together, where you have Evers, you have Cam Edwards, you have Skylar Bell, you have Sheffield, you have Jaden McDonald, nobody out. And to see the team finally playing a full game at full strength, which we have yet to see, I think that will make a big difference. Dave, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's gonna make a huge difference. I think also one of the things that the defensive back play has, from the very first game, if you remember the Maryland game, was a problem. Improved dramatically.
Yeah.
The defensive back play to me is also always a little bit of a concern. Are we? I don't know honestly how fast the Wake Forest receivers are or aren't, but our speed against the Maryland receivers was not as good as they were. So the thing that I always worry about when you go from group of 5, is that what it's called now? Group of 5?
Temple, the AAC, the group of 5, yes.
Right. So like when you're playing group of 5 schools versus playing the Power 4 schools, is that just because of NIL and transfer portal, really? I mean, that's the biggest reason. Like you can go and get some guys to play DB that are a little bit faster than maybe somebody else has at a group of 5 because you can pay them maybe a little bit more than other people can. So my concern is that, do we have fast enough guys to match their receivers that might be getting a few bucks, right? Or money, right? So maybe those guys are faster than what we have. That's my biggest concern, because I think up front, I think we're probably good enough to be able to handle all the stuff, up front. At least we've seen that, the last several weeks. It's, do they get a shot down the field? Because we get in a situation where, in a man-to-man situation, because of the 3-5-3, which we talked about, like where you're going to come after guys more.
I can't wait to ask James about that.
Man-to-man situations where they literally you get a one-on-one matchup, guy outruns you, QB puts it on the money, you get 6 points, right? And that those things change the game. And it's not that the other team's that much better than you, but it's literally a guy faster than another guy,
Takes the wind out of your sails. Yeah, and Wake Forest, their passing game isn't anything spectacular.
Right.
Every receiver is averaging Like their best receiver has 29 catches, 354 yards. He's averaging 12 yards a catch, no touchdowns. The only guy that's averaging a decent amount is Donovan Green. I think they're number 2. He's got 16 catches. He's averaging 17 yards per catch. So it doesn't seem like they're a deep ball team. Their longest completion has been 50 yards. And other than that, it's been a couple 30s. And I think they had one that was 40. So they don't throw the ball deep. I got to watch some film on them to see what they do. Now, James, I went into the season, and I will go on record saying this. I despised that Yukon was playing the 3-3-5. That was what they were going in with, playing the 3-3-5 defense. I don't believe in it. I hate it. And I said it's not going to work. And they have collectively made me eat my words. The last 2 games, they played very, very well. Temple scored a touchdown on a block punt. And then they only gave up 1 defensive touchdown and a couple field goals. They were put in horrible situations because of turnovers, and they always brought it. They had such intensity, such passion, such enthusiasm, and they played physical and they played tough. Nice. And the 3-3-5, the whole thing about it, it's a pressure-oriented defense.
Correct.
You have many multiple blitz opportunities, and the whole thing is being able to disguise it so the offense doesn't know where it's coming from. And Yukon used it to their advantage and was able to get some sacks off it, and they brought pressure. And the thing that they did differently, like Dave mentioned, most teams that blitz, 5 guys or 6 guys, will play cover 33 behind it, 3 under, 3 deep, or 42, 2 deep, 4 under. They'll play zone. Yukon plays man, which is very, very risky, which is, someone slips and falls, touchdown. But they've executed it because when you play man and you blitz, it disrupts the timing of everything. You're giving your blitz an extra half second to get there. But I've never been a fan of the 3-3-5, but it has been working for Yukon. Defensively, just looking at their statistics and what you know of them, overall, what have been your thoughts of their defense?
So 3-3-5 defense to me is I personally like it. But
yes.
But like you said, I'll start with the front. You gotta have some dogs.
You do.
Dogs, right? You gotta have a nice, and even like a nice rotation, with whoever's coming off the bench, right? And then with the linebackers, they gotta be able to cover. They gotta have some speed with them. They gotta be able to take on the linemen, right? They have to be able to hands-on, be able to see where the ball carries. You put a lot of pressure too on that front line, the front D line and the linebackers. From what you're telling me, and like I said, I wish I would have watched the game last week. I was just caught up with other stuff. But with the blitzing, I love it because of the blitzing, right? Because you can disguise so much and so well, and you never know, and that puts a lot of stress on the offensive line, on the quarterback. Also taking consideration that the running back who has to pick up the blitz, or who are the blitzer who's coming, right? But with them running man behind it, that's tough.
A lot of teams don't do that. Most teams play zone behind it. Yeah.
So but you got to give credit. You got to give credit when it's due.
I do.
That means that the coach has a lot of trust in his corners, and to say he has a lot of trust in the whole team, right? Because like you said, all it takes is one false step, one slip, and that's 6. Right.
Exactly.
So I feel like, if their eyes are in the right place, if they stick to their job, that's the biggest thing. Do your job. Don't worry about nobody else. Do what's your responsibility. I think they'll be fine. I think, just play into the scheme, do your job, and handle your business. I think they'll do great.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It's accountability, it's responsibility, football, player gap, player man, do your job, and the rest takes care of itself.
That's crazy.
I wholeheartedly agree. But I we had talked when we started the show, I think a couple weeks before this season, and I spoke very, very negatively about how I despise the 3-5 just because you got to have 5 good athletes out there that can do it all. They got to be able to play the run. They got to be able to play in space and run with receivers. And it's a pressure. I always felt it was a gimmick defense.
Right.
It was developed by Rich Rodriguez in 2007. They were the first team to really, really run it, and then it took off from there. Right. And I think the only reason I think you run a defense like that is because you're not confident that you have 4 down linemen. That's why you do it.
Right.
But they always walk down a 4th guy. There's always a 4th guy standing up. But David mentioned how he would attack it, and I agree with him. I would go 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, and make 2 of their guys walk up and try to knock them around that way.
Well, yeah,
that's really what I would do it.
Just try to overpower them.
Yeah, that's where I think they would have an advantage. But overall, they've gotten pressure on the quarterback.
Okay.
They've stopped the run. They were put in horrible situations against Temple. The goal line stand was probably allegedly the greatest finish in a game at Rentschler Field.
Yeah.
So it was madness, and it got them to 4-2. And I think it showed their toughness, their grit, and the fact that they never gave up. It was 7-6 or 9-6 at halftime. It was a brutal first half, 2.5 hours. It picked up in the second half. But I think games like that show we can overcome adversity. Right. We can come from being down, and we're never out of any game. And just like at Duke, they were down 17-0 at half. They came back to take the lead in the third quarter, and they ended up losing 26-21 when Evers ended up getting knocked out of that game. So I think there was a lot to build on with the win at Temple. There was a lot to work on in the bye week. My hope most is that they're healthy. Yeah. And if we get their top talent to play all together for the first game, that I think I still think they'll win handedly, as my prediction stated. Dave, I believe I predicted 35-10, I think.
What did I predict? 28-24?
Yes, you predicted 28-24.
Okay, so now it's up to James and what he thinks.
Well, we won't put James in.
We don't hold him. No, that's fine. We hold to our gambling. He's not held to our gambling.
Tyler's part of that. Tyler's part of it.
He can still predict, though. He can still predict.
Yes, I have a question, though. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
I know earlier you were talking about the win. How special teams want to play in this? Now,
man, James, they see. Okay, I coached college football for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I specifically refused to coach special teams. I hate special teams. I wanted nothing to do with special teams. I hate it. I absolutely wanted nothing to do with it. But everyone uses the shield for a punt now. Right. Yukon uses a modification of the shield where instead of having 3 guys up, they have 2 guys up and 1 guy over. And I can't remember who pointed it out. Somebody pointed it out to me that they saw it. It was somebody that I interviewed. I can't remember. That said they saw that Temple was overloaded on the one side, and Yukon should have moved the gunner in to account for him because they had 5 guys coming from one side, and they just were outnumbered and they didn't adjust. So special teams wise, the kickoff returns and Sheffield's done a good job.
If you move the gunner in, wouldn't you still have 5 guys come from the same side? Because now your anti-gunner is also moved in.
Well, I think you would move the gunner in, and I think you'd have to move the other guy in the shield over to that side.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Because they had a 2-man shield.
Right,
so
right. I got it. Yeah.
If they had a
2-man shield. I don't know why college football loves that.
The shield.
I don't. Maybe I'm old school.
I hate it too.
I like the 2 wings and the guys kick sliding with the up back, right? Like
the personal protector. That's all you need.
I hate the shield.
I hate the shield.
I see video after video of teams blocking punts on the shield, dude. Over and over again.
They put linemen there, and that's what I used to hate.
You get a guy to move slightly out of place, and the guy
he's got to open. The guy in the middle is a lineman, which I always hated because I was a line coach, and I'd have to put 3 of my linemen in the goddamn shield, and
to get killed.
And the one of them is responsible for the count, the cadence, and changing the protection if there's an overload. I don't want that on my guy. That's the last thing I want him doing. So he does the count. It's either even or odd, right or left.
Why do they love it so much? Why do all the college teams love it?
I have no idea who invented it. If I found out, I would.
Everybody does it.
Everybody
does it, right? Everybody does it now.
Everyone does it. Yeah, I would send Larissa Pachenko or Cyborg down to put a hit on him. That's what I would do, because as soon as we put the shield in, I despised it. The 3-man shield, the center, the guy in the middle actually has to get out of the way so the ball can be snapped, and then he has to step up. He has to come back in and step up and protect, because the center gets a free release. So the first guy in the shield has to step up, and all they do is get knocked back. I mean, they just have to absorb the hit and not get back far enough so the punt doesn't get blocked. And I also agree with you. I think it's a horrible scheme. But special teams wise, Sheffield has done an outstanding job as a kick returner and a punt returner. I think he's done very well, and I think they put Skylar Bell back there as well. So I think they have the advantage there. But, I mean, Yukon is still favored by 1.5 to 2 points, depending on where you look at, and the over-under is at 58. So, no, it moved. It's 56.5. So, I'm definitely taking Yukon, and I am definitely taking the under. So
yeah, I would take under too.
That's it. Do you have a score prediction for us, James? We won't put you in the pool.
Can I give 2? Can I give 2 if they do their job? If they do what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
I would say 30 to 13.
30 to 13. Okay, I like that.
If they go in there
and it's a barn burner,
and they don't take care of their, do what they're supposed to do, limit their turnovers, 27-24, they still pull it out. But that's why I asked about special teams.
Okay.
It'll come down to the wire.
I like it. It. Yeah.
They'll do good.
Yeah, because we have it with we had Tyler King on Monday, and by the way, he wanted me to say hello to you.
Yeah,
Tyler's a lunatic. Tyler, Dave, and I, we put a little money on it and basically said whoever has the closest score wins, and whoever has the score that's the worst, that's not as close, has to donate $100 to Bleeding Blue.
Oh,
I thought it was 50.
Well, whatever, 50, whatever you want.
Charity donated.
I've donated too. We'll donate $50 to Bleeding Blue just to make it interesting and to help Mike Burton out.
Of course.
We'll do that. So that's our bold prediction on Husky Huddle, and we will. It's going to be funny because we're gonna we're gonna be starting. We're gonna have to start the basketball show. We're gonna have to do Husky hoops after this.
Oh, that's right.
When the basketball season started. Yeah, that's gonna be big for us.
Cool.
So I'm excited. So James, let me know if you end up making a trip for a game if it works out. I know you're busy. I'm very happy that you're doing well. I'll definitely touch base with Jordan Younger, JY. He was a senior when I was a freshman. He's the defensive coordinator at the Toronto Argonauts. So I'm sure he'd be thrilled to help out a Yukon guy. And then Warren Spivey, I got to put you in touch with him.
Please.
They're doing some great things at Midtown Biohack in Midtown Manhattan, and I think he would love to have a contact up in Canada. And they also do a lot of Zoom stuff, so there could be a partnership opportunity there for you.
Perfect.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring some alumni engagement and bring the Yukon crew together.
Yeah.
That's how I got started with Dave. Dave was nice enough to show my YouTube channel was getting 20 views per episode, and now that Dave has been showing my content on his shows, we get a few thousand, and then we also do it on social media. So we appreciate it, and we'll definitely put this up, and I'll be sure to tag you. And all I ask is share it, repost it, and then tag your crew, so we can keep spreading the word and get the message out there. Because you have a different group than I know, and we want to get them on. And anyone that you talk to who would like to come on the show, we'd love to have them on as a guest. And then I want to schedule you. I got to get you on the other show I do, Husky Talk.
Sounds good.
A lot in the works.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate the opportunity. Coach.
It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it, Coach. It was great meeting you. I think what you guys are doing is unbelievable. Keep it up, and anything I can do to help, I definitely will. But again, I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great having you on, James. Great meeting you too. Really great meeting you.
Same here.
All right. Well, for James Hargrave, played former Yukon linebacker, played in the NFL, played in the CFL, now running his own business, training different teams. He does PT. He works with ages 72 and down to 7. I'll definitely put a link to your, if you have a website or anything, any contact info, just let me know. I'll put it in the show notes, which I always get yelled at because I write too big of a description, but I'll put it in there anyway. And for the coach, always Dave Schuman. I'm Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges and throw them back at life.